Assalamu alaikum. This is Megan Wyatt answering your question here at About Islam. So you've mentioned that you get really angry whenever you are out with your wife because men are basically checking her out. And you said that they're looking her up and down, and it sounds like making it kind of obvious and looking at her aura. And you've gotten upset, but she's telling you to not get upset with her because it's their responsibility if they look at her or not. But you're struggling with your anger. And I don't know if that's just anger towards your wife, anger towards those men, or also anger with yourself. And you mentioned that you're feeling a bit down on yourself as well. So where can we begin with this? When you get married to someone, one of the rules is to marry someone that you are comfortable with who they were, so that if they didn't change, basically anything major about them, you'd be okay. So one of the challenges would be that now you're not okay with the fact that she dresses a certain way. You feel like she draws attention to herself. You're not comfortable with that and you want her, I'm not sure if you're suggesting she changes the way she dresses and covers up, but that's kind of what I'm guessing you're getting at when you said you're trying to explain things to her. That she should dress more modestly. That has to be a decision that comes from her. It has to be something that she decides she wants to do, that she's ready to do, and that's part of her spiritual path. Now, certainly, you can explain to her that, hey, listen, maybe you've never heard it from a guy's perspective, and yeah, I get that it's their responsibility to, lower their gaze or not check you out. I totally agree with you on that, wife. But let me give you a man's perspective on what happens when a guy sees an attractive woman and what could potentially be going through their mind. Now, of course, for you to do that, you may have to be a little bit honest about some things you're not very comfortable with, maybe from when you were younger or from your past, or, nothing personal, but just assuming that you were once, a teenager and you went through challenges of lowering your own gaze, of making sure you didn't linger on looking at a woman, making sure you control your thoughts. And up till today, that's a discipline that, all men have to go through when they decide to be committed to their wife. Speaking just men in general, not even just Muslim men, they have to change those habits where maybe they used to look at women, whether that's on the street, whether that's in pornography. They have to change those habits and commit themselves to a woman. But even further than that, for a Muslim man, right, is that he's never supposed to be lingering his gaze on another woman's beauty. He's not supposed to be ever contemplating a woman who's not his wife. And so that is a discipline that you will always have yourself. And so, feel free to explain to her, like, I know you don't get it, and maybe this doesn't sound like something you want to know, but here's what goes on in the mind of a guy when he sees a woman's aura. And I just don't want you to have to go through that. And she still might say, hey, you know what? I'm not interested in that. I don't really care. I'm just going to go about my life. This is who I am. And that's where she's at. And there is going to have to be a part of you that understands this is where she's at. If you try to force her to change her clothing, if you try to force her to change how she dresses, there's going to be some potential consequences to this in terms of your marital relationships. You need to think really carefully about what your next step is and what you're really asking and what the potential consequences are. Now, the other side of this is sort of looking at it from the perspective of, are you lowering your gaze? Are you only looking at your wife? Do you have a history of struggling with looking at women or looking at pornography or looking at stuff online or on YouTube or whatever it is? And by that, what I mean is every human being visually recognizes an attractive person. That part is, something you can't prevent on its own if you see a person. But what is preventable is what happens after that. If you continue to look back over your shoulder, if you're looking at photographs online, if you're looking at videos online, if you continue to think and ponder and allow your imagination to roam, all of those things, that's your responsibility. And so part of me wonders if that is something you previously have not been able to control or are currently struggling with. And as a result, you're absolutely paranoid that every other guy on the street is thinking about your wife in a dishonorable way because you have also done that to other women. And if that is the case, I would say focus on yourself, first and foremost here. Focus on your own discipline, focus on lowering your gaze, focus on making sure you're not looking at things on YouTube or Netflix or Amazon or anything or any website, whether it's, regular movies to pornography to whatever is out there to billboards, you name it. Make sure that you are fully protecting your heart, your gaze, and you're fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because sometimes we are most paranoid about things as human beings because we are guilty of them. And so that means that you may feel a lot more heightened, sort of sense of what's going on around your wife because you know what you're guilty of. And you definitely want to separate your own behaviors from whatever's going on around her. Now, the third thing I want to bring up, and this might go a lot deeper than you were expecting, but that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to bring this up, is the fact that your wife is an attractive woman who you have confirmed that other men check out and look at. Does that bring about any insecurities within you? And the reason I say that is because sometimes when a man is with a woman that he feels is almost too good for him in a way, or a woman who is beautiful, he fears that she's aware of her beauty, and beauty is a form of power. Beauty is a form of influence. And so if she's aware that she's beautiful and attractive, if she is aware of the fact that men might look at her, if she's kind of grown up knowing that she was pretty and attractive and people liked her, I don't know, she may not have any clue that, people look at her like this, but I'm just going to go with this because I don't know if this is the case. But in general, when a man recognizes that a woman is beautiful and beauty is power, it also means that other men notice her, that she could notice other men, and that she could then potentially attract a better guy, a guy who's better than you, a guy that's more worthy than you, a guy that has, he's more better looking than you, or could offer her more than you, or I don't know, but a lot of times there's an insecurity that comes with being with someone you feel is attractive, and she's out there in the world, and then you wonder if because of that, somehow you could lose her to someone else. And so think on that a little bit, because if there is an insecurity, what happens is men start to try to be very controlling of their wife. They not only try to control what she wears, and as Muslims, they might use, Islam as the argument for changing how she dresses, and it gets kind of messy here because they're not really wanting their wife to cover because of them wanting her to obey Allah. Basically, they want her to cover because they feel insecure that she may attract a better man. So this is going really deep, but I'm just going to put this out there. But they become really controlling, so they might control how she dresses, and then the next thing is, well, how did you talk to that man? You said salam, you were too nice, you smiled too much. They become, just one thing after another, where a man starts to try to sort of micromanage his wife and who she's around and who she talks to, because ultimately they know they have a beautiful, lovely, kind wife. They know she's attractive. They know that other men know that, but they're not confident in themselves. They're not confident that they can fill her heart. The final piece, or sort of the remedy to that, is to focus on your wife as a person. Don't also objectify her as a body. See her as a person with a soul and with a heart and with needs and dreams and aspirations and passions, and focus on being a fantastic, loving, respectful husband who knows her needs and understands her desires and understands what lights her up. Because when you know you have her heart, when you know that you are the one that lights her up completely, some of those insecurities can fall away, right? So you don't worry about losing her to someone else, no matter who notices her or no matter who she notices. Her heart rests with you. So I know I've gone in a couple different directions, but I feel like one of these is going to speak to you, inshallah, and be relevant to you so that you can sort of start figuring out what's that next step. So I would recommend, if this is an ongoing challenge for you guys, to reach out for, relationship counseling. I offer that. There's plenty of other people that offer that. So, if it becomes really difficult, that's where having that third person just to sort of like talk about feelings and work through things together can really help you, so that your marriage isn't ruined over an insecurity or over your anger or over just not being sure of how to handle the feelings that you have or what to do next. So I hope this gives you a place to start and some insight. And of course, you can reach out again if you need anything. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.